Crumb Squad, what is cracking across the cosmos? So, full spoilers ahead for Spider-Man's Brand New Day. And I have some things to say about this movie. Great things, though. Great things. After seeing this movie 2 times, I might see it a few more times, but I can confidently say right now, this may be the most emotionally complete version of Tom Holland Spider-Man we have ever gotten to see on the silver screen. Not because it has Hulk, Punisher, Jean Grey, Scorpion, or some of the best action sequences in the MCU we have ever been blessed with on the screen, but because it finally forces Spider-Man to rebuild Peter Parker. After No Way Home, Peter did not simply lose MJ, Ned, and Aunt May. He lost himself. And Brand New Day is the ultimately about him realizing that he cannot spend his days or the rest of his life hiding inside of Spider-Man. The movie shows us that Peter has spent 4 years operating almost exclusively as Spider-Man and Spider-Man only. New York knows the hero, but almost nobody knows the person underneath the mask. The loneliness is why the organic webbing worked so well for me. It isn't merely a cool power upgrade or a reference to another version of the Spider-Man, like Tobey Maguire's with the organic webbing that we saw in No Way Home. It physically represents everything Peter has repressed, finally forcing its way out. It's great imagery, it's a great metaphor for that explanation. His grief, loneliness, anger, and refusal to process what happened with MJ, Ned, and Aunt May are changing him from the inside. Peter believes his spider DNA is turning him into a monster, but the real problem isn't the spider. It isn't the spider at all. The problem is that Peter Parker has been emotionally suffocating himself for 4 years. Tom Holland absolutely delivers that version of Peter in this movie. He gets to be funny and awkward, especially when you see him walk out of the elevator with the juicy pants on, where he keeps his mask on while getting in the bathhouse meeting with Yelena, and the chemistry between him and Frank Castle. They argue like they're brothers, but underneath all of that comedy, you can feel how broken Peter is. The house party sequence where they're playing Tamed Impala in the background may be one of Holland's strongest moments of that character. Peter watches Ned and MJ continue their lives without him. Wow, Loser by Tame Impala plays in the background. And MJ's new boyfriend kisses her, and Peter completely falls apart. That scene hurts because nobody attacked him. There isn't some giant supervillain threatening the city. Peter's simply standing in the middle of a life that used to belong to him, and nobody remembers that he was ever a part of it. And the character Jean Grey works because she doesn't just challenge Spider-Man physically. She weaponized Peter Parker's deepest emotional wound. The scene where she possesses MJ makes Peter believe MJ remembers him, kisses him, and then reveals the truth was cruel as hell. But it also exposes how desperately Peter still wants his old life back. Jean isn't portrayed as generically evil either. Her grief over Sarah, who is her sister, and the DoD experiments gives her anger and real emotional foundation. I understand why she wanted revenge, even when I couldn't support what she was doing. My only criticism is that the DODC mystery becomes a little overloaded. There's a lot of information involving Mesker, Sarah, the experiments, and VMAX that the movie has to explain. The emotional story works, but some of the exposition could have been slightly cleaner. Oh, and don't get me started with these three right here in the same room, same scene. Spider-Man, Punisher, and the Hulk, and this combination worked way better than it had any right to. Frank Castle may honestly be the funniest character in the movie without ever feeling like they softened him up. His chemistry with Peter is perfect because they completely disagree about what protecting people means. Peter will risk everything to save one person. Frank will eliminate a threat before it can hurt anybody else. But underneath that conflict, Frank recognizes Peter's bravery, and Peter slowly begins breaking through the walls Frank built around himself. The Hulk fight was phenomenal too, but it wasn't only a spectacle. Peter and Banner are reflections of each other. They're both afraid that the monster inside them will eventually overpower the person they want to be. Peter doesn't stop Hulk by becoming stronger or, putting battle damage on him or hurting him. He just simply calls him Banner, reminds him that he's his friend, and recognizes the person inside the monster. That's the same compassion Peter still hasn't learned to show himself. Now that brings me to this scene right here. Jean is controlling one of the hand, and this is a very important scene of the movie. Jean asks Peter whether he is Peter Parker or Spider-Man, and Peter simply answers, "I'm both." That line is the entire movie. Peter has spent years believing he has to choose either to allow Peter Parker to love people and risk losing them, or he hides behind Spider-Man and keeps everybody at a distance. But denying Peter Parker is exactly what caused the spider to consume him in the first place. Once he removes the inhibitor and accepts both sides of himself, he doesn't become more violent, becomes more controlled, more precise. You see that momentarily when you see him launch the guy and stops him right before he's gonna bust into the pipe. He saves the hand instead of destroying them, because accepting the spider doesn't erase Peter's humanity. It finally allows Peter's humanity to guide the spider. And also another really big win, I also love that the final victory wasn't Peter overpowering Jean. He defeats her by allowing her into his mind, sharing his pain, and showing her that she doesn't have to suffer alone. When Jean tells him she has nobody, Peter just simply responds, "You have me." Then he throws himself in front of Frank's bullet to protect her. That's Spider-Man. Not the organic webbing, not the strength, not the swinging. Spider-Man is Peter choosing compassion, even when showing compassion could kill him. Aunt May's presence throughout the movie makes that moment even stronger, because Peter finally understands responsibility isn't only about sacrificing himself for others, it also means allowing others, people, to love him. And I'm glad the movie didn't automatically hand MJ back to Peter. Peter tells her everything and admits that he still loves her. But she honestly tells him that she doesn't love him. That hurts, but it respects the consequences of No Way Home. Peter doesn't win his old relationships back like it's a prize. He receives an opportunity to create something new with MJ and Ned. However, I definitely do think Jean may have weakened Doctor Strange's spell. I will talk about that in another video, because we have seen it explained before in prior X-Men movie, but we'll talk about that in another movie. MJ wearing the Black Dahlia necklace, returning to the rooftop, and Ned instinctively saying Peter's name during their handshake feels too deliberate to ignore. Like the reaction to it, them being there, it's just too deliberate, too coincidental, I guess would be the term. I don't believe all their memories have returned. If they had, MJ's reaction would have been much more immediately. I think they're sitting back and pondering on it like, I know you, but what do I know of you? But Jean may have reopened the emotional pathways connected to those memories. They might not consciously remember everything Peter meant to them yet, but something inside them recognizes him. Overall, Spider-Man Brand New Day worked for me because every major character reflects a different part of Peter's struggle that he's been dealing with. Banner fears his inner monster. Jean allows grief to consume her. Frank avoids attachment because everyone around him dies. MJ represents the life Peter abandoned. Ned represents the friendship he convinced himself he could survive without. And Aunt May remains the voice reminding him what responsibility truly means. The movie isn't flawless. The DODC's mystery gets crowded, and Jean's evolution into an almost Omega level mutant happens extremely quickly. But the emotional core remained strong. The action was incredible. Punisher was hilarious. Tom Holland finally got to play a truly independent and emotionally broken Peter Parker that we've all been asking for. My frequency tuner rating for Spider-Man Brand New Day is a 4.5 out of 5 bars. Damn near full transmission. This movie absolutely puts Tom Holland back into conversation about which live action Spider-Man has been handled best. But I need to know what frequency the Crumb Squad is tuned into. Did Jean begin restoring MJ and Ned's memories, or was that final handshake simply their friendship breaking through Doctor Strange's spell? Drop a signal below. Stay aligned, stay cosmic, stay tuned in.